So this is the values reflection for Dr. Alvarez's healthcare and policy class. I'll start with some information that I found, and then I'll expand from there. When considering the prison industrial complex, state prisons in this narrowed context, there are layers of massive inequities across the board of identities and intersections, but especially race present. There are socioeconomic factors compounded by systemic racism, which have created, in essence, a funnel where vulnerable adults and people struggling are criminalized based on how they try to survive within structural violence, which is the United States of America, past, present, and hopefully with enough work won't be as much so in the future. Hosts of the Abolition Is podcast describe this violence as systems of desperation. Really like their way of describing it like that. Lies and a severe lack of imagination surrounding police, courts, and prisons and how they operate complete create a compelling narrative for why this violence ought to continue to be upheld. However, the isolation in every respect of human experience inside prisons relative to the outside, not one that I have lived, contributes to narrative by attempting to make incarcerated people both unseen and unheard. Patrice Colors reminds us in her Abolition's Handbook that nothing is fixed. These long and then these long-standing systems of oppression can continue to be fought. In my upcoming placement with the Systems of Care Initiative Institute, I should say, I'll be indirectly working with youth and families in the state of Oregon's mental health wraparound care by supporting stakeholders in providers system at various levels with data collection strategies and management. And the goal would be to ensure that data is not only adequately gathered but also used for the improvement of services. Because probing into the lives of family and youth without meaningful intent and purposeful use of that data is unethical and inhumane. Um, so about SB 1568, tying it to my placement. Uh, Many people in prison are parents. According to most recent figures from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which are 2016, 58% of women in prisons are mothers, and 47% of people in men's prison are fathers. This is a staggering amount of people that are parents that are in prison. Um, although I'm unsure of the exact extent of wraparound services usage within Oregon's juvenile justice system, there's a tie there. Many of youth and families experience mental health challenges, potentially have incarcerated parents. Uh, the grim legacy of Measure 11 from 1996, the three strikes and law that also made it so it was no parole for a lot of specified felonies under that. Um, so, of approximately 12,000 people that are incarcerated in Oregon right now as of August 1st, there's 5,800 people, that's for like half, that are held without any hope of parole due to Measure 11 sentences, and thus have no ability for early release under the writing of SB 1568, which is all about early medical release and early release for people. Um, that's in addition to the already eligibility requirements that are added in the bill, which actually expanded and make it better in that respect. But yeah. Oh, and then there's an also an aspect that I thought was interesting about it. There's no ability to appeal decisions made by the newly formed medical release board um, to a judge, whether that's their final decision can't be appealed by either the person that was referred or is trying to get out because they applied for release, or the bureau or like the DOC can't appeal it either. So that kind of makes it more final, and hopefully that makes the process faster for it. I was looking into statistics for um, health insurance related to incarceration. And the Prison Policy Initiative found that 50% of people at their point of arrest before they were incarcerated didn't have any insurance, and the other half of people, were a lot of people with Medicaid. Um, and so I thought, like, well, for people to get qualified or get selected for early medical release, do they have to have care insurance to treat conditions that they're qualified them, like when they get out? Or people lose their SSI, that income if they have a disability, if they're incarcerated for longer than 12 months, and they can't reapply until after they're released. Like, it's it's broken. I get it. They're not gonna give people that money when they're incarcerated. However, to take somebody completely off that ability to earn that for when they do, I don't agree with it because it's so hard to get back on for people. Um, and then just so many fragmented levels of government makes it, as a social worker, it makes it kind of hard to figure out where to apply pressure so we have more equity. But a lesson, I guess, is to stay curious, to expand like learning, stay curious, and always be critical regarding policy. Other questions that came to mind, um, like depending on how long a person's been incarcerated, and the strain on a family relationship outside, this seems like a lot. And then when they get to release, does the family, if still living in poverty, have the ability to take care of this person that's getting early medical release, much less be able to provide for like severe medical needs if they've lost access to Medicare or had benefits dropped when they were incarcerated? Because that can happen. We do have like requirements now that there's OHP for people covered when they're in prison, but I don't know if that's always followed. Um, and then I thought about the bill, and there's inherent violence in prisons in general, but there's also an underpinning problem of like, okay, so people have to, in essence, prove that they've suffered enough while incarcerated to deserve to be released. Like, what's what's the state's take on that? Like, are we looking at the state's like, oh, cost benefit analysis shows that it suddenly makes more sense for the outside world to be responsible for care instead of being inside of prisons? Um, and then there's serious concern, I would say, regarding medical racism on the like decisions of the board. The governor says in the bill that he has to pick people from historically marginalized communities for appointments. But like, what about the medical racism within a prison before they even get, if they're going to get referred to the board or they're not getting accurate care or quality care, to know how bad their life is, or to be able to prove to the board to even get onto that list. But I mean, it is nice that people will be able to make their own appeal to for early medical release. So I'm left with a lot more questions and answers. In terms of my values, I really value accountability. So like, what does that look like when people are selected to be put on the medical release board? Like, they're where they're from, the requirements. How do we like ensure that that is still a racially equitable board when like it's a governor requirement to appoint? I mean, you get a really bad governor in there and it screws up the whole system, and then we're back to like very few releases. I mean, it is a wide number of people, up to 13, so that is a positive thing. And it creates a lot of legal pressure on the DOC to do something if a person is considered have to have less than 12 months left to live. Like they are required to um, refer that person to the board for early medical release. I really value the experiences of humanity and the lived experiences and quality of life rather than quantity of life. Our healthcare system favors quantity and allows for only the quality somebody can afford to pay, so that people with disabilities are treated as a body to be exploited by so many means while also being dismissed as unworthy of existence. Society is fundamentally unjust when it does not measure its civility or success based on its treatment of its most marginalized members among us. In truth, disability spans the widest range of people in the world as a status for potential oppression, even though the systems don't impact people equitably because of other factors that intersect, like race and socioeconomics and many other things. Also trans and non-binary lived experience. Thanks for watching, listening,